Welcome to Ninon Speaks. I'm Ninon de Vere de Rosa, and we have an incredible guest. And actually, we're at the Peppermill in Las Vegas. Let me introduce Michael Presley.
So nice to meet you.
It's so nice to meet. Hey, we're being very official, which is not my side. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing really good.
Yeah, I can see, and you know, when you talk about looks and you see somebody and you think, well, there is definitely a resemblance there, and there's definitely something there. And you, Michael, wanted to come open on this, a little bit more open, and for people to understand exactly who you are and what you've lived through all these years. Because you've lived through, you know, quite a few, I'm sure, ups and downs and whatever. Give me a little bit of when you first found out that you were Elvis Presley's son.
I've actually known most of my life. It was not a thing that was, I knew absolutely at that point, but it was something that I just seemed to know. My mother had met an entertainer. I knew about that, and I was conceived. I knew about that, and I grew up. And she kept the identity of me concealed for a long, long, long time.
So she never told you that you were actually...
She did it later in her life.
But not when you were young. So
No.
when you were young growing up, you had no idea who your father was?
No.
Did you not ever want to kind of say, you know, I'd love to meet my father, and can I meet my father? Can I find him, or what? I mean, I'm sure you could definitely find him. That's for sure.
I did. My mother, though, was all a mother should be. Okay, she
Okay.
was, as a single mother, she was both mother and father. And I mean, I never felt like I was slighted or didn't have a father. I felt like she was both mother and father.
And father.
And so when I started asking about my dad, she told me things, and she would ask me, "Does it really matter?" And I would look at her and I said, "No, Mom, it doesn't really matter."
Well, you were probably, how old were you roughly then? 8, 9 years?
Probably, yes,
Yeah,
probably.
probably
about,
quite young when
yeah.
you're starting to be inquisitive as to
Exactly.
who's my father, what am I, where am I, how am I.
Then in
Why
the years
wouldn't
that
she
came,
why wouldn't she do that? Any particular, did you ever find out why?
well, she did not want the kind of life that she knew would come with that.
Oh, so that was
Oh,
the
yes.
reason.
She was an entertainer when she met my father, and she quit the entertainment industry and took care of me and, of course, a couple of other children, too.
And how old, wait a second, that didn't
Not,
slip me.
not by my father.
Oh, okay, all right. Anyway, I'm confused there. I know, because there's a lot of people that are claiming
Yeah.
certain, you know, things. Now, when you found out that this was your father, how did you feel? And were you kind of shocked, or did you kind of started realizing that could be your father?
I started kind of realizing it, and then my mother finally one day looks at me and she says, "If you want to know so much, why don't you go talk to your aunts?" Well, my aunts just at that particular point was coming into Southern California to see us, and so I thought, good
Okay.
point, I'll do that. And I was in high school at the time, and I went to my aunts, and my one aunt laughed and she said, "Oh, your father."
Oh no, here it
Oh,
comes. Uh-oh.
absolutely. And then she says, "Well," she says, "you really need to talk to your mother about that." And then the other aunt goes, "Well, which father is she talking about?" And I'm thinking to myself, well, I can only
Well,
have
one
one
father.
father.
I mean, come on.
Okay. And then she comes out and she makes the comment. She says, "Well, she's been married 5 times."
Who, your mother?
No, my
Oh.
mother was never married 5 times.
I was going to say, that's a lot of
That
times.
is what the sisters were
Oh,
telling
that's what
me.
that said is
So
what.
they were being
Oh.
persnickety and smart, okay, about my
Well,
mother.
do you think they were a little jealous of, because
Extremely jealous.
I was going to say, because she had an affair. Obviously, she had an affair with
And
Elvis.
I was the hated child all through my life,
Did you?
growing up.
Hang on a second. Did you know that?
I knew that.
Well, didn't that not kind of upset you and make you feel
Well,
like?
I didn't know why I was hated until later on in life. And then I realized, oh, I know why you hate me. I'm Elvis's son. And you have to understand that in the 1950s, my father was viewed as the son of the devil himself, and my mother had laid down in the barnyard with the devil's own son, and
I mean, when
like
you
a
look at it
sow.
now,
Oh yeah, and
and
this
you look at it then, I mean, he was
Exactly.
doing nothing. He was doing absolutely nothing.
Nothing different than what happens every day
But he
today.
started wiggling this body around and shaking
Exactly.
legs and doing things, and everybody was like, "Whoa, what happened?"
Oh, absolutely. And he was banned in some locations from
Oh, I
performing.
didn't know that. What
Oh,
do you mean?
yes. Oh, yes. Down through the South, he was banned. They actually had record burnings in the open square of some of these towns. And they burned his records. They had record breaking days on some of the radio stations where it says, "We are breaking records today, and we're breaking Elvis's records today." And they would crack them
They will
right,
crack them right in front
right
of.
on right on the radio station.
Of course, it was the radio then. We didn't have internet and we didn't have all the computers, so we couldn't
Exactly.
blast it out there. Fortunately, fortunately. So, how did your father? I'm now going to quote him as your father. How did your father manage to sort of squeeze through all this? I mean, he must have had the greatest tenacity.
Well, he had a tremendous amount of strength, inner
Yes,
strength.
inner strength.
And my father, of course, was guided by Colonel Tom Parker, who
Yes.
did his job. Now, I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, the colonel was this bad guy." Well, look, you can look at it that
No,
way, but
no.
he's really did his job,
Yeah.
because the agreement was between my father and him, and my grandmother and grandfather at the time, because my father was very young at the time. His agreement was, "You will perform for me until the day you die. What you do on stage is your business.
Yeah.
It is your show. You decide what is musically done.
But
It
he
is your
will.
performance.
He will do behind the
But
scenes of.
I will control the business."
So he controlled the business, controlled the bookings, controlled. How old was your
And he made
father?
him millions.
Oh, well, we've all read that story about all the money and the things that he, I don't know, I wasn't there, that might have done to your father with the pills and all that stuff and making him
Oh,
perform.
let's bring that out right now.
Oh, okay. Well, we're
Uh,
jumping the gun a little bit. I was going to ask you one question before that.
okay,
How
go ahead.
old was your father when you were conceived?
My father was 3 years younger than my mother.
Well, how old was
Okay.
your mother
And my
then?
mother, at the time of 1956, she was already 23,
So
and
he was 20.
my father was 20.
Only 20.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Because let's see if that's right. Now he was born in 1935,
Oh, wow.
so that would make him 20.
There you go. 20.
Hmm.
So it was quite young.
He was.
Yeah.
But it's interesting
He
to
went with
note.
older he went with older women.
Well, you know what they
Only
say,
three.
older women have better lovers or something like
I
that.
don't know about
I
that.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
But the thing about that is my grandfather was 3 years younger than Gladys. So
Oh,
my grandmother is older than my grandfather. My mother is older than my father
yes, by 3 years.
by 3 years.
Yes.
And so it was, I guess, a thing. I mean, people could say, "Well, that's just a coincidence," but then I don't believe in coincidences. So
No, no, which we were talking
we were
about. The
talking
things
about
that happen, they happen. Now, I want to know why you're on my show, Ninon Speaks, and you've decided to open all this up, and you're opening it up in a very, very big way.
we
And
we
and
are.
and you're going to do a documentary, you're going to do a show. I don't know everything that's going on because it's actually none of my business, but I know that you're kind of you've taken that shyness away, you've taken that thing away, that I'm now going to be open with the whole thing. Don't you have a proof of your birth certificate?
I do, and I'm going to show that to you, and I will let you view those. But I will tell you this:
Well,
the problem that we have today
yes,
is the demographics coming through Graceland's gates
yes.
are 30 years old or
You
younger.
were talking about that.
Yes, and for that reason, they don't know the truth. My father did not die of a drug overdose.
No.
Didn't
Oh,
happen.
he didn't.
He did not die of a drug overdose. My father was neither a drug taker nor a drinker.
No, I know he didn't drink.
Secondly, my father did not die on the toilet with his pants around his ankles. Didn't
See,
happen.
this is all stuff we don't
This is
really
the
know.
story
Now,
that has
how
been
do
created.
were you there, or is this?
I was around my father from 1974 to 77, directly involved with my father.
And obviously, Priscilla wasn't around at that
She was
time.
not around that time.
Um,
My father was actually seeing Sheila Ryan, one of his girlfriends,
yeah.
when I first met him. I was playing, I had gotten Mr. Teen America,
Okay.
okay, in the contest out there in California, and I had gotten a contract to play at the old El Dorado Casino here on the Strip. It doesn't exist
No,
anymore.
that was
It
one of
was
the
called
greatest.
Silver Slipper, I think it was called one time, and El Dorado and the El Rancho and a bunch of names.
Yeah,
We were
that was
playing.
like, I'm not going to say it's the old Vegas, because it's been replaced with
It has
another
been, yeah,
casino.
it's
There's
been
always
replaced a long
everything's
time.
been replaced with a new
Yeah.
casino, but it's still a casino.
Yes, yes. And so we were performing there. I was there for a week,
Yeah.
and that was part of my prize package was to perform there. I was a senior in high school, so I had graduated from high school in June, and in August I went to perform at the casino. Um, my father was rehearsing in Los Angeles, had seen my mother, stopped by and told her, I'm going to see Michael and he's going to spend a week with me.
And this is your father
This is
saying
my
this.
father saying this to my mother. She was in the studios there at in Los Angeles and Hollywood, and he
Yes.
was rehearsing a whole new set of songs, which we have a copy of the actual picture of that list given to Charlie Hodge for him to perform. My father was wanting to do a comeback special. He was planning it and he was already testing it in 1974. This show, 19th of August, 1977, has been broadcasted around YouTube and everywhere as the one show out of all the shows my father did that was completely different than any other show he ever performed. No 2001 Space Odyssey, no CC Rider, very few of the 1950 songs. This was all cover tunes from the
From the
1970s.
90s. Yeah.
Bee Gees, the Beatles, Mac Davis, Tom Jones. These are the people he
These are
was
all
covering. Artists that were big in the 1970s. My father was the greatest cover artist the world has ever seen, and the very first one. And he was already testing out a plan of his to come back and do a comeback. Now, my father had done comebacks before.
Yeah.
A lot of people think there was only one comeback. There was, well, with the third one, there was actually a plan of three. The first comeback was in 1958-59. My
Oh,
father
we're going
left.
back sometime, aren't
Yes,
we?
my father had left and gone into the service.
Yeah.
A acne, pimply face, not much pimples, but he was a
Yeah,
young
but
man.
the looks didn't matter. I mean,
The
none
looks,
of the pimples, no,
yeah,
the looks
exactly.
didn't.
And he had this sandy blonde hair, this
Yeah,
this towhead.
yeah.
And my father went into the military. This was his comeback. Because when he came back and appeared on the Frank Sinatra show, he was a Greek idol.
Yes.
He came back slim, trim. All of the baby fat was gone.
Well, they put him
All,
together.
yes, all of the any kind of blemishes or anything were gone. They were no longer
They
existing.
were.
And his hair, jet
Well, he
black,
had the greatest smile. He had the hair was
incredible,
incredible. The figure was incredible. The movements were incredible. I mean,
incredible.
this is where now you stated that at the mansion right now you've got all these young people coming
Who
to
don't
see.
know
They
this
have
story.
no idea who. Well, they have an idea who, but they never saw him.
That's correct.
But
So
there is he. Are they going there looking at Elvis Presley coming out of a regular family with not much money? Money wasn't involved. Nothing
it
was
was worse
involved.
than that. When he was born in basically a shotgun shack. No electricity, no running water. You could see the dirt below the house through the slats in the floor. This is how poor.
Poor they were.
That's
So
absolutely
they were
correct.
so poor. And I think
was the
this
Great
is
Depression.
this giving the younger generation that if he can do that, I can do it too? Is that what they're looking at? Or because
They are coming back rediscovering my father and everything that my father brought to the stage and performances. And I've got to tell you,
from nothing.
I've told countless young people, if you are ever going to do anything in life today, now's the time to do it. Because never before in the history of this country can young people go into, you want to open up a business, go do it. You want to go to college, go do it. There's money available out there. Just look for the programs. You want to be a race car driver, go do it. Do what is your
You're
dream.
right, because
My father followed his dream.
I believe it's the individual of what you want to do. And unfortunately, out there, a lot of people say, well, you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you'll never be this, and you'll never be that. And I always say, don't listen to that, because you haven't listened to it. And you have actually, Michael, you have every excuse in the entire world not to be who you are now. And you're
Absolutely.
coming out as Michael Presley and saying, I'm not ashamed of anybody knowing who I am, and it is the truth.
That's absolutely correct. And this, at this age, coming out and making these claims
We're
and
not going to
saying
state
these
the
things,
age.
no, no, we won't state the age, but I am a mature man. And for a
Yes.
mature man to go and do something like this, people would think this has got to be crazy. It's not crazy if it's the truth, and that's exactly what it is. It's the truth.
Nothing can get in the way of truth.
No,
Nothing. I
nothing.
don't care what you
I don't
do.
care what you throw down.
Yeah, whatever happens, whatever goes on, whatever people say, truth will always seek. It's like oil. Oil always comes to the top.
See, those people walking through Graceland right now are not aware that my father went to the Grand Ole Opry to appear on his very first time, and they threw him out. After his song or two, they looked at him and said, "Son, you can't sing. Go back to driving a truck. You'll never be a country western star. You'll never be a singer. You'll never be a big entertainer. Go
But
back to
that
driving
didn't stop
trucks."
him.
It didn't stop him. He turned around and went to the Louisiana Hayride, and they picked him up for 52 Saturdays. They loved him.
They loved him. Now, okay, so we're going to move forward a little bit, and we're going to get into Priscilla. Now, Priscilla comes along, and she marries, and she has a little girl. And
At the
where were you?
comeback time, 68. Remember I
That was
told you
68.
that was the second comeback.
That was the second comeback.
That's correct.
Where were you in all this? Were you accepted by Priscilla or what?
Priscilla has quietly accepted me off the page. And
What do you mean off the
we
page?
had a much better relationship back in the days than we do now, because I have become very vocal about my opinions about things that are going on that I don't like.
And what are
Okay.
those? You've got me
Well,
curious now. I want to know what those things are.
well, for instance, coming out and saying my father was a pedophile. My father wasn't a pedophile.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even know
Oh,
that was out.
oh, it's coming out. She's releasing these books that claim this, and I don't know if she's having some kind of depression reaction or something. But one day she writes in the book this way, and he's glowing in terms, and the very next day she'll write something that's totally the opposite of what she just
Of
got
what
through
she just.
told a few pages before. And so it's like,
Well, that doesn't make sense. But that
and don't get me wrong,
it's.
I am not out to grind any axes.
Oh no. Do you know? I have to tell you something.
I love my stepmother.
You love your step. Okay, so that's a good thing. That's always a good thing. You know, I had your stepmother at one of my. I used to live in Bel Air, and I had Priscilla at my party, and I looked at this woman, and she had very little makeup on, but she was so beautiful. I mean,
Elegant.
she still is, and she still is.
Yes.
Very elegant, very beautiful, but very, very quiet. She wasn't noisy. She was very, very quiet. But I was so honored to have her at my house, and it was like, oh my goodness. So I've met her, don't know her, but you know, and it was quite. I admired her, and I thought, wonder what she went through, and all the stuff, and all the parties, and all the, his lifestyle. I mean, every woman in the world was after him,
Oh, absolutely.
and then she
Absolutely.
has to like sit back.
And it wasn't only the women. The Memphis Mafia didn't particularly care for her because she was wanting to have my father to herself, and rightfully so. Don't get me wrong.
Well, it's her husband.
It's her husband, okay? But she couldn't.
Well, of course, the business he was in was hardly by himself, because if he didn't have the audience, he wouldn't be what he was. Anything at all.
Could not turn down the fans.
Could not turn them down at all.
No.
Of course
So
not.
so now my father's getting ready in the 1970s. Him and
Yes.
Priscilla have divorced, and he's getting ready now for this next comeback.
Why did they divorce?
Well,
I mean, I could talk think all the women and all the affairs and all the stuff.
One of the reasons. She
Uh-oh.
found out.
I think I asked the
during their
wrong
marriage-
question.
Yeah, she found out during their marriage that he had another child. Instead of, open-armedly, oh my
Accept
gosh,
them.
bring him in, let's go ahead and do this. That was not in her plan.
Really?
Lisa Marie was in her plans. That was the
That was it.
that was the heir, and we're going to go ahead, and you don't need all this other stuff. I know you have not been
So-
the best of people, but I mean my father was, and really rightfully so. I've got to tell you.
Sounds like that it's all about money.
Yes, and my father was a loose cannon in the 1950s.
Why?
Beautiful, wonderful voice, great a
And all the movies
personality.
and all the...
Okay, he was just any girl. I mean, the girls flocked to the stage dropping their panties on the way. Okay, and it didn't make any difference whether they were married, divorced, they had children, they were pregnant at the time. It didn't make any difference. All the girls loved my father, and so when you tell me that he had one child in his whole lifetime, this beautiful man,
Well,
a loose cannon in the 1950s, shooting
I'm
in
not even
every
going to go
direction.
there
I mean,
because
come on.
I mean I'm quite sure he. I mean, I'm not sure, but I mean, when he was married to Priscilla, I'm sure he had other women.
No, my father was faithful.
Oh, he was. Oh,
He
isn't that
was
nice to
faithful.
know? Isn't that
Until
lovely?
Priscilla was unfaithful.
Oh, so because she started it, then he, you know.
You only defile the married marital
We're getting down to the nitty gritty
one
of all this
time.
stuff, aren't we?
You know what? That's what the Bible says. You defile it one time. After that, it doesn't matter what everybody else does.
I guess not. I guess not. I was married 29 years and I was
You were
straight.
straight as an arrow.
Straight as an arrow. Yep, I would not. And that wasn't because of my husband. It wasn't because of anybody else. It was because of me looking in the mirror on who I wanted to be and who I wanted to represent. And I did not want to have any of that stuff, that dark stuff
I believe
in
it.
my life.
I think that's one of the reasons why I like you so much.
Look, I thought it was my blue eyes.
No.
See, he's got blue eyes too. You can't see him too well.
Personality.
I don't know about that. So, in all the things that's gone on in your life, what is the most potent thing that you kind of think of a lot, and you kind of think, well, why and how and when and what? What would that be?
I really wish that I could have been of more help to my father in that last couple of years.
Well, why weren't you?
Well, I was to a certain extent, but you know, the Memphis Mafia makes a
I
veil
don't know because I'm
that's
not in the
kept.
Memphis
No,
Mafia.
that's kept. Now, my father used me during the late 1970s as a decoy.
Uh-oh, did you like
And
that?
there was actual witnesses. Oh, I loved it. It was a blast. I would come in one entrance and everybody would be rushing over there, and then the minute I turned and I'd walk in, they would go, "Wait a minute, was that him?" Or
Who was that?
exactly. My father is coming in a plain sedan on the opposite end
So
of
the
the
decoy.
auditorium.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
decoy.
come in the limousine. I love that.
Of
But my
course.
father's coming into this in these sedans on the opposite end, packed full of guys. But
So now you're in a kind of a different life. You've got the limousines, you've got the money, you've got everything. Did you actually live with him?
no,
You
and
never?
and I never saw any of the money because illegitimate children were excluded from the will. So there was no money
That's
there.
not fair, is it?
We never got involved with the money, and it didn't really matter because to me, my father gave me what I needed: his love, his commendation, and seal of approval. Um,
So he
People say
definitely
I look
he
faintly like him.
he definitely accepted you as his son.
Absolutely.
Did he? Was the DNA in that time? It wasn't, was
No,
it?
it
There was no
wasn't.
DNA in
It
that time.
wasn't.
As the English have brought this DNA in, you know.
Yeah, I
The
know.
English they start everything.
Well, when he had gone to California to see my mother the week there of that August 19th show, before he opened up at the International Hilton Hotel, he took this ring, which matches his ram head ring and his necklace and his bracelet, and brought it to my mother and said, "When you feel it's appropriate, this is the ring I want you to give to Michael."
So wait a second. This is Elvis Presley.
This was a ring that my father brought to me.
So this is an original ring
This-
from Elvis Presley.
is an
Oh my God!
original
Well, we're
ring.
not going to bury it down there. We're going to go. Isn't that is the ram's head?
It's the ram's head. And this is the ring that
Oh
I
my
have worn
goodness.
all through the years. And you will see it in a
Isn't
lot
this
of...
ring similar to one he had
This
too?
is, yes, this is
There's
a
the
similar
horseshoe.
one. And it looks very good, very, very accurate, but it is not one from him.
That's not from him.
That's
That's
correct.
one you had. But didn't he?
That's correct.
Because he used to wear all these rings.
All the rings.
Now, what about he used to have these scarves, and I always used to be fascinated because he kind of had his perspiration on the scarves, and he would throw it to these women.
Oh, you know what?
What?
We need to scarf you today too.
Oh,
We'll do
well,
that
wait a
before
second.
we're done.
Wait a second. It's going to scarf me. I don't know what that means, but that. Well, let me hide my wire. That might mean I'm going to get a scarf.
Yes, yes, you will.
Now you've got all this going together. Now, you said you've got papers to show me.
Yes,
I
I
want
do.
to see these papers because, you know, there's going to be a lot of people very skeptical out there of this interview, of this actually being Elvis Presley's son. I know that. A lot of you
Jason,
will
you've got
understand it. A lot of people.
my driver's license. Pull my driver's license out too,
He
please.
wants his driver's license as well. I'm not going to actually show you the papers, but whatever he wants me to show you.
And my
Um,
military ID.
oh, somebody can throw it to me. I'll give it to me. Or how do I get it? Throw it over here. Oh, there you go.
Thank you
All
so
right.
very much.
So we got driver's licenses. So I just wonder, you know, I'm one
This
of these
is my driver's
people.
license, and I too am from Tennessee.
You know, you do look a lot like. You know, Elvis had the blue eyes, didn't he? Those brilliant blue eyes, and you have the same. What's this?
This is my military ID, my VA
Oh,
card.
this is taken some time ago.
Mhm.
This is when he was younger. He's still good looking.
But the military accepts me for who I am. Tennessee
Except
accepts me for who I am.
now, I have to
The
say
Social
something right
Security
now.
Department accepts me for
I'm
who
going
I
to just
am.
show it. Well, I'm not going to show anything because I've got an address here, and I don't want to be liable for anything. So, but I'm just going to let you know that this is definitely. Oh, your middle name is Brian.
It is.
How lovely. Oh, look, we have this
This
I
is the
can show
passport,
you. I can
yes.
show you the passport bit, but I can't show you inside legally. Oh, my goodness. I know you're all saying, why don't I have my glasses on? Because I don't need glasses. As old as I may be. I got my blouses I'm doing here. I don't know what's going on.
This is a document that was filed in court.
Okay, so we've got all these
Along-
papers. You
along-
get all these back.
Okay, along with the uh, um, court case that did not need to prove who I was, but certified already
Who
I
you were.
was. Exactly.
Now, you know, Mike, I'm looking at all this, and I'm looking at all these different papers, and we're going back a long time. This, oh, wait a second, we've got more stuff. Well, I'll answer that.
That is a copy of the birth certificate.
I'd love to show this to you, but I can't. You, what am I going to do? I'm looking at all this. I've never known, or you're showing actually on internet TV, because my show goes on, Ninon Speaks is on internet TV. You're showing me all these papers that obviously took some time to get together. How do you feel as a human being of what you have to prove as to who you are? You've got to have some feeling within you. You've got to have some anger. You've got to have. What do you feel?
I think that a long time ago, when I first started to come out, I felt like I needed to go ahead and prove something. And my father talks to me every day. My mother talks to me every day.
Yeah, my dad.
They're-
Yeah, my dad does too.
Does he?
And my mum, yeah.
See?
And my husband. And my husband,
your
who's up there.
husband.
He's up
Okay.
there too.
And so, you know, they have always been there for me. And good friends that are around me told me not too long ago, they said, you don't have to prove anything to anybody.
Well, that's what
any
I'm trying
longer.
to say. You don't
Book's coming
have
out.
to.
In my father's footsteps, which has.
Oh, is that the name of it?
That's what it's
In
called.
my father's footsteps.
In
How
my father's
beautiful.
footsteps. And that book chronologizes my entire life, my relationship with my father, the evidence that we have brought together, and of course the court certification. And everything
Okay,
else.
Michael, you've just answered my question. With all these papers I'm looking at, you've answered my question by being 100% secure as to who you are.
I am, absolutely.
So every step you make in this world and wherever you are, you feel very comfortable.
And although it
and
was
you don't
a
have
secret,
to worry.
That's correct. And although it was a secret, when I talked to my aunts, the comment my one aunt said was, he was the most beautiful man that women had ever seen.
Well, that's for
And
sure.
he-
I would
And
agree
he
with that one.
your father became the greatest entertainer the world has ever seen.
And you,
There's only one person that fills that bill. At which time then she looked at me and she said, you need to go back to your mother and talk to your mother.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't need to go back to my mother. I went back to her and I looked at her. I said, okay. I said, they just validated everything that I knew. And my mother looked at me and she said, I knew my sisters couldn't keep their big mouths shut.
Oh, it's typical women. Women can't keep their mouths shut anyway on anything. So that's. But these, all these, and then you've got more papers. What is? Oh,
This
DNA. This is.
this is the DNA test that was done, and this was triple sample.
Did you mind doing that?
Um, I did at the time because I just thought to myself,
What
why?
happens if
Why?
this is not
You know,
true?
I'm the only person that has to go out to this extent to tell anything. It is what
Well,
it
that's what I'm
is.
saying.
It's in the book.
That's
you
exactly
know.
what I'm saying. Is that you have to go through this.
Now when people ask, I tell them read the book. The book's coming out. You can read all about it. It's in the book.
Yeah.
You know, and of course people say, well, can you prove this to me? And I'll say, sure, I can prove this to you. But
So
I
is
don't
this
want people
why?
thinking that I'm running around with a little black valise and every time I talk to somebody, I've got to
Yes,
pull this
it
out.
is.
Look, I really am.
No, you don't have to do that because you're obviously living proof, and now you just feel you don't have to worry. But I'm looking at all this. It's like me having DNA on. Is this my father and is this my mother? Are they my real parents? I mean, I could say the same thing, and I've got to go through all the. I mean, I understand that's who I am,
I,
but
I know that people always want to hear this statement.
oh, we
So
got another statement. What is this?
this is a portion of this. This is the complete report here. Paternity, DNA paternity test certificate. This is one page, and this is the page that's so important.
Okay, why?
Okay. The reason is because it reads as follows. Probability of paternity, 99.999%.
So
Okay.
you're one little one off.
That's right. And everybody is.
Of course they all are. Wonder what that
The
one is.
alleged father is not excluded as the biological father of the tested child based on testing results obtains from analysis of the DNA loci listed. The probability of paternity is 99.9996%.
It's amazing.
And then it says, based on our analysis, it is practically proven that Elvis Presley is the biological father.
Michael, how many times do you have to bring that out? Or how many times do you feel you have to bring that
After
out?
today, I'm not bringing it out anymore.
Oh, we've accomplished,
We've
Ninon
accomplished
Speaks has
something.
accomplished something.
And the
and
reason
this
is
could
it's
be
going
the
to be all
step.
in the book. It'll be all in the book.
Now,
Everybody
now,
can go and buy the book.
now, when's the book coming? Who wrote the book?
I wrote the book.
You wrote the
Yes,
book.
and just so
How long
everybody
did it
knows,
take you to
it was
write the
not a
book?
ghostwriter. I could have probably written it a lot faster,
How
okay,
long did
had
it
I had a
take?
ghostwriter doing it. We started the book actually in 2017.
Oh, that's not bad.
Okay, so it's been
5
about
years.
5, 6 years.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years. That's
I
okay.
started when I sat down and people around me said, "You've got to write the book.
Well, yeah,
And,
you've
and
got to set
you've
it
got to tell
straight.
the story."
Let's set it straight.
You know,
Now, any of you out there, and I know you're all, there's a lot of people, oh, Ninon, what are you doing? Da, 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 da. da."
can
I
I drop
believe,
another bomb?
oh, you can drop as many bombs as you like. What,
My
what?
father did not die August 16th, 1977.
Oh, this is really a bomb. Okay. I thought I was going to end the show, but obviously I'm not.
My father died a couple of months later as a result of circumstances around the heart attack that he had. He never regained consciousness.
So, actually, the day they said he died, he had a heart attack, but
He
didn't
had a
die.
heart, but he
Okay,
didn't
so
die.
we straightened that out. He didn't actually die that day, but he did have a heart attack.
That's correct.
Was he coherent at that heart attack, or was he rushed to hospital? Where? Because it must have been something very
He was
private.
he rushed to the hospital unconscious, not
Okay.
breathing.
And did he ever come out of being unconscious?
He never
did.
came out of the.
So they're saying he died then, which is kind of not true. Which is, I don't like that, but that's what it is. So how did you find that out? Well, you were probably near him or with him, or
Well, I had been with him shortly before this time period. I knew about the comeback. I knew that that tour beginning in August of 1977 was to be the last one for a complete year. He was going into the studio. He was going to be doing a lot of new material. He was wanting to get fitted for the new outfits. He was going to go on a weight reduction program. He was going to get
he's
lots
going
of
to get
rest.
himself back together again.
Exactly. And he had actually started it by taking Ginger Alden to Hawaii for a vacation, prior to the last few shows that he
Ginger?
did. Ginger Alden was his fiance at that time.
Okay. Straighten the books out.
Okay. And I know a lot of people are out there saying, well, he would never have married Ginger. Listen,
Well,
my
we
father,
can't say that.
well, no, and my father would have married her, and people will say, well, how do you know this? And I'll say, well, first of all, my father told me that he loved her. Secondly, my father gave to her the most valuable gem in his entire collection. The main diamond out of his TCB ring was given to Ginger as an engagement ring.
Oh, how beautiful.
He'd never done that for
Isn't
any
that
other woman.
beautiful? No.
And he mentioned her in those last concerts. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my girlfriend, fiance, Miss Ginger Alden.
Let me ask you a question. You know, we saw a last video of him, and he was, you know, perspiring. He'd gained weight and everything else. What? How did all that? Because that's something that sort of suddenly arose and it came out, and obviously, as you're saying, he was coming back. He was going to lose the weight. Now the drugs apparently for pain.
No drugs.
No drugs at all. So we cleared the decks. There were no drugs.
No drugs.
So he gained weight. He gained weight because.
Now you might want to ask, why do I know that to be a fact?
All right, I'm going to ask, why do I know that to be a fact?
Gerardo and other people said that he was taking over 200 pills a day.
Well, yeah, I had all that. I mean, this is paper. So
Not possible.
No.
Okay. So you take that and you add to that. My father performed more shows in the last 6 months than he did in any performing year prior to that. How does a man underneath downers, painkillers, and sleeping agents suddenly come to life, perform 60 to 90-minute shows, lucid, talking, laughing, playing, under that kind of
This sells
medication?
newspapers.
Of course
That's
it
the
does.
problem. This sells newspapers and
Books.
people put and books and whatever
And
you want.
Graceland tickets.
Who owns Graceland now?
Graceland is owned by,
The
I believe it's,
foundation?
no, All Brands, what is it? All Brands something or another.
Okay.
Or Authentic Brands.
Oh, Authentic Brands.
Yes.
Okay.
They
okay.
own Muhammad Ali's rights, and they own the likeness to my father and the name and all of that.
And Priscilla got left majority of stuff, or her daughter got left or what he kind of had, didn't
Yes.
she?
When my sister died, she had 14% of the estate left. Everything else had been sold off.
Nobody.
And
Oh.
so she only had 14%, which allowed her to remain seated on the board.
Yes.
And she had also, in that 14%, Graceland, the four walls, and the grounds that it sat on.
Oh.
Now, all of the movie rights and the record rights and all of that kind of stuff
Whatever.
belong to other people.
So we're putting all this together. We've had this incredible interview, and now you're coming out. Let's do a little bit of where this is like one of the first interviews of Michael coming out.
I've never done an interview like this.
Well, you never will either, because
Okay,
it's only
good.
me.
That's right. That's right.
There'll never be another interview. I do different interviews because I don't pre-interview anybody. I don't have lines. I'm just me. That's all I am. And you're you.
And I am me.
And you're you. So we're both two people sitting here.
And who do you see when you look in the mirror?
I see me.
Exactly. People always say, well, you look so much like your father. You favor your father. And I look at him and I say, well, every day when I look in the mirror, I see me. Now, do I see
Yeah.
the halo of my father? Yes,
Of
I
course
see
you
my
do.
father.
Yes, yes.
You know.
So you're going. Well, so your book is coming out. You also, and I don't know if you can talk about much of this. You said that you're going to have a series maybe coming out. You got also. What's going on with you now?
They have got 1,000,001 things that they're wanting to go ahead and plan for us, and I think it's great. It's wonderful.
You're
you
all
know.
ready for it.
I have been ready my entire life. I have lived to get to this point. And my mother had told me a number of years back, she said, honey, if you ever get to the point that you want to come out and tell the world, then do so.
And
It's
now
not going to be
now it's
against
the
me
right
or your
time.
father.
No, because you're old enough to understand it. You've done it. You've got all your DNA. I mean, I've never seen so much stuff to prove who somebody is. Unbelievable. I mean, you've got to look at it, and I mean, I just looked at it, and you've got to understand why.
I'm bringing my father's comeback
Yeah.
to the stage.
Yeah.
1978 will be 2024.
Yeah. Why do you think there's a lot of personalities out there, a lot of people out there, but he became and still is to this day, number one.
Huge.
I mean,
And what a
you even
fabulous,
told me we have a big thing in England that everybody, England,
huge,
and you know, I'm from England,
huge.
huge. And it gets kind of bigger and bigger. As you said, the younger generation go to Graceland.
Wanting to
Why?
know all about my father,
Yeah,
all about his records, all about his life, what
yeah,
he did.
yeah.
And what a fabulous story. His
Thank
story is fab. It's a rags to riches story. A little boy from Tupelo, Mississippi, with dirty clothes and dirty, streets, living and walking back and forth
You
between
know what you're
shackrag.
saying? You're saying right now into the camera, anybody can make it. I don't care
Anybody can
what you
do
are, who you are,
this.
where you come from, anything. It doesn't make any difference.
It might have been special back when my father did it, but today he is the one who did it.
Yeah,
And he shows you that anybody can
can
be
do it.
this.
And now also you have actually you have a cousin. No, somebody flew in from
Yes, I do. Michael Clayton.
Michael Clayton
And
flew
Michael
in.
Clayton is the Gladys Smith's side of the
Son
family.
on the family.
Yes, because it was Gladys
That's
Smith
your
Presley.
mother's side of the
No,
family.
no, that's
No,
my grandmother's
your
side.
grandmother's. Oh dear, but
Yes,
but
that's
your
my
grandmother's
father's mother's
mother.
side.
Your
Yes,
father's side.
yes,
Incredible.
yes.
And then
And
also you
Michael and
have a
I,
son.
yes, and Michael and I have known each other for many, many years.
Yes.
Okay,
He's very
and
quiet. I was
very
going to
quiet
try to get him
individual.
on set, but it's all complicated because we've got cameras and things all over the place. But I wanted him on set, and I don't know if you can get there. But then we also have your son.
I have an adopted son here,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
and I also have another adopted son, Joshua, who's 17. Hi, Joshua.
Hi there. How are you? How are you all? Um, Last words you would like to say? We have to close out. This could go on for hours and hours because I love talking, and obviously you like talking as well,
I
Michael.
like talking to you. That's what it is.
Good time together. Last words would you like to say? Because I always bring this in. What would you like to say to the younger generation?
Follow your dreams. My dad did. I'm doing it. You follow your dreams. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do something.
I agree
If
with
it's
that.
good and positive, go do it.
Well, I left home when I was 16 with $5, no education, and everybody said that I was skinny, I was ugly, and I couldn't do anything. So
And now look at you.
now I got Michael with me, Michael Presley of all people. It's such an honor, and I'm just so
Well,
grateful to
the
interview
honor is
you.
all mine.
No, well, this is our first argument. I love it. But he does say to the younger generation, just do what you want to do, go for it. But I'm going to add to that, when you go for it, don't go lackadaisical. Go 100% into what you want to do, and you will achieve it. But you have to be honest with yourself. Can
No
you do
looking
it?
back.
No, look, see, don't look back. See, I learned from what I did before, but I'm like you right now. Go forward. Thank you so much for watching.